God granted me a union, my dreams have come true. I'm lucky to have someone, and Isha, I know it's you. You pushing. God granted me a union, my dreams have come true. I'm lucky to have someone, and Isha, I know it's you. You pushing me to strive, I'm the luckiest man alive. I know that it's true love that you're holding in your eyes. God sent me an angel in the form of a girl. He knew that I needed help, so he blessed me with the world. The covenant he gave, it always included you. I'm attracted to your mental, flattered by your potential, and love with who I married. Your beauty is monumental, so the will be done. A daughter, either a son, I don't care how he blesses. I'm anxious for it to come. He knows what makes me happy is you, and you are the one. You took my last name, stuck with me through the pain. Never expected marriage, but nothing has been in vain. I'm happy you here to witness what he's doing with Mike. And every time that I see you, add happiness to my life. And every time that I see you, add happiness to my life. Yes, every time that I see you, add happiness to my life. Look, I never expected for you to be the one that I get to love and cherish. Help me to raise a son, you accept me for who I am. Play the role of a wife, and I never would think twice about loving you to life. Look, I never expected that you would be the one that I get to love and cherish. Help me to raise a son, you accept me for who I am. Play the role of a wife, and I never would think twice about loving you to life. I don't know what I could have done for God to send me heaven, my shoulder for me to cry, my help when I am stressing. You mean so much to me, wanna make it so you don't work. I know that it get inside, and I know we gon' make it work. I just sit back and think on how to surprise you next, and you boost my little ego, telling Elle I'm the best. I buy cars and cook dinner so you can come home and chill. Every time you smile, I can tell that it's real. I've never really knew love until he sent you back. We started as good friends, and now it's just a wrap. I love you, don't wanna lose you, never wanna confuse you with nothing that's in my past. Cause marriage for me is new, boo, something I wasn't useful. Now that I know that it's truthful, can't tell from your heartbeat, can hear when your heart speak. Tell your mother she gained a son, I'll never leave you alone. As God was our witness, watching us from the throne. March 10th was the due date to the birth of my destiny, and I can conquer it all as long as you next to me. Look, I never expected for you to be the one that I get to love and cherish. Help me to raise a son, you accept me for who I am. Play the role of a wife, and I never would think twice about loving you to life. Look, I never expected that you would be the one that I get to love and cherish. Help me to raise a son, you accept me for who I am. Play the role of a wife, and I never would think twice about loving you to life. And I never would think twice about loving you to life. And I never would think twice about loving you to life. And I never would think twice about loving you to life. And I never would think twice about loving you to life. What's going on, good people? How y'all feeling today? How y'all feeling today?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We missed you.
Yeah. How y'all doing on this what is it? Happy
Beautiful Thursday.
Happy Thursday. So, again, we happy that y'all came to spend some time with us. Mm-hmm. You could have been anywhere in the world, and your time is very valuable. So we thank you for spending your time with us and coming and kicking and hang out with us. You know, because you could have gave your time to anybody else.
Absolutely.
So, remember I told y'all last week we was talking about the mission statement thing.
Yes.
So after we got finished, we came up with a mission statement for our marriage, right? So our mission statement is to live by the principles of Christianity, to train our children to be heirs to the promise, to always hand our business endeavors to Christ first, to take dominion over any atmosphere we reside in, to always pray, to love each other until death do us part. That's our mission statement. I'm gonna post it in the comments so you guys can see.
So what are some of y'all's mission statements? I know we all said we was gonna kind of work on it and see what our relationships missions were.
Did anybody come up with one? Did anybody decide to do a mission statement with their husband or do a mission statement with their wife? Oh, my cat phone ringing.
Yeah.
I got it.
All right. So we stated last week that the mission statement is predicated on what you as a couple can work on together to make your marriage work and also give to the community. So just like we make mission statements for our businesses, I would definitely love to hear what your mission statement is for your relationship, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, what that looks like.
Yeah, you got to have a mission statement because the mission statement is what gives you guys vision.
Absolutely.
The mission statement is what gives your marriage vision.
Absolutely.
The mission statement is what gives your relationship gas. So if you don't know what you're pushing for, then you have nothing to push for.
Absolutely.
You just blindly living.
And it's even for people that's in relationships, because sometimes we can be in relationships. When we're in relationships, we should be in a relationship with someone we can imagine being with for long term. Mm-hmm. Don't just waste your time being with somebody you don't see yourself with forever.
Yeah, because listen, like I say, when we open, every time your time is valuable. Absolutely. Your presence is valuable. Your attention is valuable. So give your time, your presence, and your attention to something that's residual.
Absolutely. That's
going to give it back to you and make you feel like you didn't waste your time, your presence, or your attention when you dealt with it. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, so, man, just make sure that you're giving your attention to something that's meaningful.
Absolutely.
You know?
Shawnee said, yes, mission statement. I can't wait to be with you next month, girl.
Yeah, that's going to be dope.
Sharing with Shawnee. She always has some amazing artists, writers, entrepreneurs on her show. I'm looking forward to the time spent with you.
Yeah, so, so it's just, man, just having fun, man, making sure you're giving your marriage some legs.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it, man, because it's something that you have to constantly and consistently work at. So if you're constantly and you're consistently working at something, you want to have something to measure it by. Absolutely. How do you measure if you're moving in the way that you want it to, or you're moving in the way that you guys said that you want it to be moving in? You have to write something down so you know what you're heading towards, what you're moving towards, where you're going, So like I said, we pinned our mission statement again, is to live by the principles of Christianity, to train our children to be heirs to God's promises, to always hand our business endeavors to Christ first, to take dominion over any atmosphere we reside in, to always pray and to love each other until death do us part.
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing. We know we're doing the right thing when we see our children living by the principles too.
Absolutely.
Those things that God promised us. A servant is worthy of his hire. So if you work, they work to get paid. They love working. They like coming out with ideas to make money around here. They like all of those things. You understand what I'm saying? And we live by the principles of Christianity.
Absolutely.
And our goal is to go and preach the good news. You understand what I'm saying? It's to make people understand that you don't lose everything when you start living for Christ.
Absolutely.
That's when the fun really starts. We feel like sometimes we hold reserve because we think that when we move towards Christ or when we move towards marriage that we letting go of something. No, we're gaining extra.
Stepping into a new phase of life. We can't always stay in that little boy or little girl phase. And sometimes you gotta grow up and try something new, take on new responsibilities, and stretch yourself.
Yeah.
Stretching yourself, yes, it's going to be uncomfortable initially, but we all have to stretch in order to grow. We all got to go through something in order to grow. So don't be afraid to step out there and commit and challenge yourself to do something different.
Right. Do something different. You understand what I'm saying? Don't let what somebody else doing or let somebody else's marriage provoke yours.
Yeah.
And your marriage is different.
Yeah.
Your situation is different. What they're doing in their marriage won't work for you in your marriage because it's not for you.
Absolutely.
What they're doing in their marriage is for them.
Yep.
So, with that being the case, so they always say, like, because it's two people in a relationship becoming one, that it takes two people to make the marriage work.
Absolutely. I agree. It takes two people to make a marriage work. Absolutely. Two totally different people.
Yeah.
Two totally different people coming from two totally different walks of life coming together to make such a beautiful union.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful union. It takes two. So what kind of work do you feel like that needs to be put in? What kind of work? What kind of things do you need what do you think that needs to take place? Like
I see sacrificing, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Learning patience,
mm-hmm.
Commitment to the marriage, commitment to that union.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be open-minded. Because you guys are so different, you have to be able to see things from another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are closed-minded. They go into relationships, friendships, any kind of
mm-hmm.
relationship, thinking that everybody's supposed to think and process the way they think and process. And that's not reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not reality. You have to be open to someone else's perspective.
Right. And you got to understand that for the male, and I can only speak for me, right? When it says that two people make a marriage work, the first thing that you have to do in order to make that marriage work is leave your mother and father.
Yeah.
You can't be an umbrella under an umbrella. You can't cover somebody under somebody else's covering. You have to step from underneath that covering to be a covering yourself. It tells the man to leave and cleave. It don't tell the woman to leave and cleave, because you still have to prove yourself. You have to make sure that you're going to be capable or able to do those things that you need to do. Leave your mother and father, and not leave your mother and father. I'm sorry, forsake. That's worse than forget.
What's the difference?
It says forsake, to forsake your mother and father. So if you're forsaking your mother and father, that means you're creating distance. You're creating a wall.
That just sounds like
that means to abandon.
Rough. That sounds rough for our culture, because African Americans, we take pride in having those close-knit relationships with our family members, people we love.
But I don't think it means to abandon physically.
Right.
It means to abandon emotionally, because once you get married or you move on to your spouse, you have to release the emotions that you have attached to your mom and your father, so that you can entangle your emotions to your mate.
Yeah.
You have to emotionally abandon your mother and father to be able to emotionally connect to your mate.
What does that look like? Because it just sounds so rough.
When you beefing with your wife, you don't need to go tell your mother and them about your business. Even though I know it's something that we used to doing, because we want advice and we want those things, but then
affirmation, we want to be affirmed, and we want to know that we did the right thing, that we're not this bad person. And then we look to others for that. But the reality is we should be seeking that in our marriage.
But then the crazy part about it is that you going and getting something from your mother that your mother's going to give you what you want. And sometimes you don't need to get what you want, because what you want is the reason why it's not working. You have to go get something new. You have to create something new. You understand? You have to abandon those things. It's your parents are going to give you the information that you already have. They're going to give you something that you already know. They're going to give you something that you use, that basically is probably already got you in a rough position. They have the same. I hate to say it, but sometimes we have the same stinking thinking, and that's not what we need. We need to come into our situation with Christ. If that's if that's the way that you're going, leave your mother and father, abandon your mother and father, and stick to your wife.
Or your husband.
Yeah, stick to your mate, because it's something. It's something that you'll learn. You'll learn how to weather your storms. You'll learn how to get through your problems, and you stick to your mate. When you love your mate, even though y'all upset with each other, or when you still showing your mate all the emotions and all the things that you need to show them, even though y'all upset with each other. You can be upset with somebody and still love on them.
You sure can. Yeah.
What you think?
That was really good. I'm definitely processing because, like I was saying earlier, that family dynamic is a major component of the African American community, and us staying tight knit with mama, daddy, grandma, auntie, like that is our culture. So when it's not that, we don't feel right. We don't feel good. We feel isolated. Right. You know what I mean? So
we feel like it's wrong. We feel like we letting somebody down.
So it's important to still maintain those relationships, but keep your marriage as the center. Yeah, you can't feel guilty for releasing old things to get something new. Yeah. You understand? I know it's crazy, right? And you know, I try to make it as simple as possible, right? When we run some shoes down or those shoes ain't in the condition that we want them to be in no more, we don't feel guilty about throwing them in the trash to go get new ones. I do, depending on who gave them to me. When those clothes run down and when those things happen, we don't feel guilty about releasing those things to cop something new. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to a position where you have to let those things go, because a lot of the time we are afraid to release the thing in which we gave authority to. Your mother and father has always had authority over your life because they're your mother and your father. But they can no longer have those things when you head into being in a whole different relationship. You know? Mm. So with that being the case, it's like when you, like I said, forsake your mother and father and cleave to your wife. So what do you feel like that you are, how can I say it? What are you sacrificing for your marriage to be better? Absolutely. What did you let go of? What do you think you did for the love of your spouse to make the situation better? What did you sacrifice, babe? I let go of some. Well, I'm still working on it, so I can't say 100%. But I let go of who I was. I'm starting to let go of me, because as much as I hold on to me, I realize that sometimes me being who I am, I'm selfish. And me being who I am for a very long time, it was always me. I only had to cater to me. I realized that sometimes what I want or what I need is not good sometimes. You know, so sometimes I have to sacrifice me in order for my marriage to be better, because I hold on to grudges. I like being angry. I like being mad. Really? I mean, I ain't gonna say I like it, but it's one of those coping mechanisms sometimes. It gives you enough time to be able to process stuff when you're selfish. When you're selfish, though. You understand what I'm saying? Because I can never process how you think if I stick to myself. Right, that's true. So as long as I remain angry, I'm running through my head what I think you thinking. Without, you can end all that by just talking to me. Exactly. Right? You see what I'm saying? But I'm running through my head what I think you thinking. What you think you sacrifice? I sacrifice my need to always be right. You know, like what? Yes. Well, he know. Like I always feel like I'm right. I always have to be right. But in this situation, sometimes I'm not right. And it's okay to take a pause and say, I'm wrong. I apologize. Like, I'm wrong. Right. But, you know, this one over here, he's still, you know. But listen, like I told y'all, no matter what, I will always, Aisha used to get mad at me sometimes because she said, you tell too much of your business. I will always tell the people the truth, because I feel like that's what God made me for. God made me to tell people the truth so they know that they're not the only person who faced those situations. I'm going to always tell you the truth. I'm going to always keep my integrity. I'm going to always do the right thing. I'm going to always tell you the right thing. See, but to think about that, a lot of times when we tell our story or our truth, it's filtered through our own experience.
Right.
So in reality, it might not be.
But that's what to put a pin right there. That's what Jerica was talking about, right? When she was saying it's the thinking trap. The thinking trap, right? The thinking trap is patterns of thoughts, usually with a negative swing, which prevent us from seeing things as they really are. Why do you think you don't see things as they really are? Because you've been selfish and you're filtering them through your
own
thoughts.
Negative experiences.
Exactly.
So you're not thinking clear or rationally. So as you begin to spew this information or tell the people this information, you're not telling them the correct version.
Right. So a lot of the times when we was having a conversation last night, I know sometimes we get off track. We was having a conversation last night when I was telling you a lot of the things I try not to talk about from my past because I was drinking a lot. Mm-hmm. So some of those situations might not be the way that I seen them.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I always when I have a conversation about the past, a lot of the times you see I refer to Ra. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Or I refer to somebody else who I know that's going to be truthful about the situation. Mm-hmm. Because my thoughts are not always 100% right because there was some distortion because of alcohol, because of the addiction that I carried at that point. Right. So my vision or what I saw was not always what it was. See, like now, right? Now I see in my situation. At first, I used to see through my situation, which means like I was in a bad situation, I was in a bad place, and I used to filter everything that I saw through that situation that I was in.
Right.
So those feelings and those emotions and those things were never right because they was always distorted, like you said, like because of the thinking trap. But now I try to funnel those things through God. I try to hand those things over to God and see what God gives me back in reference to those things that I'm battling with or those things that I see.
And you know what? I definitely noticed that. I noticed that you start taking time to process information before responding. But no matter how frustrating or how difficult the conversation or situation may be.
But you have to because you never know a lot of the time, man. And that's what I noticed, period. I'm gonna say because I can only speak for the situations that I had when I dealt with other men of God. Mm-hmm. We are in situations or we deal with situations where we aren't able to communicate. If I come to you and I say, bro, why did this happen? You automatically get offended because you're not used to processing situations with people. Mm-hmm. You're not used to people asking you questions about why you did what you did. But I feel like, just like with my sermons and my verses, I feel like are valuable to me. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if I give you a sermon or I give you a verse, that if you don't do what you told me you're going to do with it, I have the right to ask you why you didn't do what you told me you was going to do with it. And you can't get offended with the fact that you didn't do what you said you was going to do. And I asked you because I hold something valuable to me. You know, and I think that's a lot of the time we're not able to talk about situations that we go through or things that we deal with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So what you think about the thinking trap?
I think that is Jerica was right on the point with that because a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. They sit and they think, and as they think and process information, it becomes worse. You know, like the situation and just the whole situation change, the whole dynamics of the situation change, and it can be something as small as a stubbed toe, you know?
Yeah.
It goes from the stubbed toe to they set me up.
Catastrophizing.
They put that thing in a way. Mm-hmm. Now that they put that in a way, they wanted me to get hurt. You know, all this stuff, and the reality is you put it there.
Yeah.
You know?
Catastrophizing, going all the way to the worst possible situation.
Absolutely.
And then realizing that nobody put the trap for you, you set it for yourself.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? And not only that, like overgeneralizing, like when you conclude to a single negative thing, like you say, hey, well, I feel like this is what happened, and I'm going to stick to what I think is is what it was.
And that's the thing. Sticking to what you think, even when you know it's wrong. Like, don't do it to yourself. Free your mind, baby. Free your mind. When you realize that thought pattern is wrong, dismiss it immediately. Right. It's okay. A lot of people think when someone tells them something and it's right and they take on that thought process, they feel like they're being fake or not being a leader or whatever. No, it's the reality. Some people know things you don't know. Every day we learn new things. It's okay to learn new things and adopt new behaviors. It's okay. So in the reality, in any situation, when somebody corrects irrational thought, it's okay to dismiss that thought and take on the new thought. Right.
Stop trying. Stop trying to mind read. You can't read other people's minds. You can't automatically say you know what that person's thinking because you don't. Because you guys are two different people. You understand what I'm saying? Me and a person could have went through the same situations, but our thinking going to be different because we process and filter our thoughts through different traumatizing situations. Yep. Somebody might have seen somebody get shot. It might not bother them, but it might bother me. Right. And when we look at that situation makes me desocialize. And they're like, hey, that happens all the time. Yep. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to stop trying to mind read. We don't know what people think. Absolutely. We don't know what people feel. Absolutely. You have to always use your words, man. That's the communication. Yes. You always got to communicate, because when you don't communicate, you overgeneralize. Yes. You label. Yes. You trying to mind read, and you fortune telling. You telling people things happen that's not really the way that it is. You done created this whole story in your head as to what happened and what they did and what they didn't do. This look that they gave you confirmed this. And when you do that, what is that called? When you self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. When you have a thought and you try to confirm it because you really think that it's real, even though it's not. So take the time to ask questions, communicate. If you feel a certain type of way, allow that person to explain to you what really happened. Because at the end of the day, we're not married to our arch enemies. The person we're married to actually love us. They actually care for us, and their intentions for us are pure. So give them an opportunity to tell you what really happened. Because we're so accustomed to people hating on us. We're so accustomed to people hurting us. We're so accustomed to people doing wrong to us that we think everybody in our life wants the worst for us. And that's not the reality. And that's called filtering. Absolutely. That's called taking all the negative situations, right? And processing through the negative situations and ignoring the positive situations. It's like saying, right, I'm thankful for the people who don't support me because they motivate me. And not saying you thankful for the 25 people who didn't show up when you had 100 people who you invited that did show up. Yeah. But you spent all your attention filtering out the people who came and paying attention to the people that didn't come. All of these things happen. Yeah. Personalizing, taking everything personal. Everybody's thoughts and everybody's actions does not necessarily include you. Because somebody doesn't give you the attention that you need, because somebody doesn't pay you or is not coming to your house like they used to, it might not be you. It might be them. Absolutely. Everybody. And you have to understand, because they separated, that might be a good thing. You understand what I'm saying? Because, and I say it all the time, people will hurt a child because they don't like an adult. Feels weird, right? That saying just sounds so crazy. But people will hurt a kid because they don't like they can't handle what they think that the adult has. You understand what I'm saying? People will do that. And that's what we have to realize, man, that a lot of these things, man, don't actually have nothing to do with us. And stop shooting yourself to death. You should not change because somebody don't want to be around. Absolutely not. You should continue to be yourself. Exactly. You should continue to live on. Yep. So you have to, and that trap thinking will have you going to bed angry.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, Jerk, y'all go to bed. Do y'all go to bed angry? Do y'all go to bed angry? I try not to go to bed. It's been a very long time since I went to bed angry. Cause I be trying
praise the Lord at night. Yes.
Caramel dripping in my bed.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what's going through my head.
Okay.
I'm thinking about being with you for life. Oh. But yeah, so you gotta man, you can't angry. How easy is it for us to be angry? How easy, before you can say don't go to bed, yeah. And I know sometimes I have to fight that because I realize, Jerica, that that's a generational curse. Sometimes our stubbornness is something that we attracted or we gained from someone else. How easy it is to be stubborn, how easy it is to be angry, how easy it is not to care about somebody else because we don't feel like they're paying attention to the things that we need. How easy it is to be selfish. How easy it is to do all of those things. But everything that's worth having takes a little work, and it takes a little fight, and it takes a little push, and it takes a little drive, and it takes a little beating yourself up and talking yourself out of those things that you would normally do. If you feel like those things that you have or that thing that you want is worth it.
Absolutely. It's work.
And I know we probably talked about this a couple times because I feel like a lot of the times, man, we make room. We make room. Yeah. We make room for the enemy to continue to feed things into our thoughts when we decide that we want to go to bed angry and not talk, because for the 6, normal people sleep 6 hours. For the 6 to 8 to 10 hours that you sleep, you are subconsciously working negative thoughts, thinking that the person that you're dealing with is actually against you when they really want you to win. When they really want you to move forward, they really want you to be great. They really want all of those things. But when you go to bed angry, you're filtering all of those things through your anger. Filtering all those things to your emotions.
Yeah, you storing that stuff in your subconscious. Right. And then when you awake, you're trying to figure out why I'm just not feeling him today. Or why it's been like a whole month and I can't stand him. What's going on?
Right.
So it's important that you work through those moments. It's important that you process, talk through, communicate, have those tough conversations. A lot of people say stuff like, I ain't want to bring it up because they was going to be mad. So what? Be mad. Let's talk about it. Okay, you can get mad, and when you get over, we're going to still talk about it because we need to reconcile this situation. I'm not at peace with it.
Right.
So,
and I feel like sometimes, man, it allows us to enable the baby in our mate.
What you say?
When we allow them to go to bed angry, and we don't really push because we don't really want them to get. We don't want them to get madder or upsetter. We kind of like enable.
That's right.
And we kind of like cripple them when we allow them to continue to possess those behaviors.
Yeah.
Because technically, to be honest, if you're married to a visionary, that person's number one vision is to see you become a better person. So if that person's number one vision is to see you become a better person, they have to push you to a temper tantrum and then help you come out of it.
Yeah. Because even when you said that, of course, I thought of Erikson stages of development. A lot of times when we experience traumatic situations, we stop growing emotionally at that stage. So a lot of time when we have conflict, we're operating from whatever age we were when mama left or whatever the case may be. We're operating from that standpoint. So imagine having an argument with a 40-something-year-old man or a 50-something-year-old man.
That's actually 12.
That emotionally is operating from an 8-year-old standpoint.
Right.
So yes, it can be rough, but you have to give them the opportunity to grow by having those tough conversations, allowing them to see themselves in the conversation. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're talking to your mate, yes, they can be angry. Yes, they can be spewing all this stuff. But eventually, guess what? They start hearing themselves. And as they hear themselves, they begin to process. And as they process, then they say, you know what? I ain't right. Let me stop. And they're able to check themselves. Give them the opportunity to go through that process.
Right.
Give them that opportunity. Yeah, they're going to be mad initially, but they'll get over it because sooner or later, after communicating, they realize she just want me to win, or dang, I was wrong.
Right. So you always got to remember that you decide. The decision is always the same, man. You got to push that person to be greater. You got to push that person to be better.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
You got to be able to handle that friction. If you becoming one, there's going to be some friction. You got to be able to work through the friction. Every time the friction comes, you can't run, because then you'll never be able to become one. It's going to always be friction. If every time it starts getting a little harsh, you got to start over.
Mm-hmm. You stop and act like nothing ever happened. You never get to the finish line.
Right.
You never get that resolve. So it keeps showing up. Why? Because you never came to a resolution.
Right. And sometimes, man, you have to realize that you can't get even. You have to sometimes get equal. You got to realize that your mate is not always 100% right either. And you have to realize that you're not always 100% right either. We have to realize that through each person's life, or through each person's growing stages or periods in which they developed in life, there has been some damage. And we have to learn how to work with the damage instead of trying to get even with the damage. Because if you keep trying to get even with the damage, it causes more damage. Have you ever seen one of those people who you driving down the street and it looks like their car has been hit everywhere?
Yes. Yes.
And have you ever seen somebody, or that friend who, when they get into a car, like, I remember back in the day, because my father does body work. So I remember back in the day, they used to take the checks, and they stopped doing it now. I don't know if they still do, but they used to take the checks and they used to give the check to the person who got into the accident. And that person would take the check and cash the check and not get the car fixed. And then they get into another car accident and take the check and not get the car fixed. And they get into another accident, take the check and not get the car fixed. And now the car can't operate in the full potential in which it has, because every time it was damaged, the person who has authority to love on it or help it correct didn't do it. They just damaged it some more. We got to realize, man, that everybody in our marriages, we have been through traumatic situations. We have been through the socializing situations, because you still have to remember, a lot of times some people can't talk because their parents told them, when we talking, you don't talk. And for a very long time, they weren't able to talk. And then you look at them and you're like, why are they not responding to that? Because they were taught that when things get rough or when things get sticky, you be quiet and you don't respond and you don't do those things. There's a traumatic situation which created some damage in every single human being.
Absolutely.
And you have to realize that each person is damaged, and you have to find the way to love the damage out of the person who you assigned to.
Yeah, and I want to say really quick, we're talking a lot about trauma. We're talking a lot about damage. We're talking a lot about things we endured that could possibly, that altered our life, right? That altered the trajectory in which our life was headed. So I'm not telling you to take your mate and try to be his or her counselor. Absolutely not. In the event you feel like your mate needs some therapy, please encourage them to see a counselor. You see a counselor. In the event your marriage becomes extremely stressful and you're unable to manage it, I will encourage you to seek help. Get professional help. It's important that you take care of your mental. Encourage your spouse to do the same thing, because look, that's the baby. Look out, co-host. It's important that we seek help, because even in the Bible, the Lord tells us to seek wise counsel. And counselors, they're trained and equipped to be that wise counsel to help us through those moments. So do just that. Don't be ashamed. Everybody that goes see counselors are cuckoo. Everybody that seeks help are crazy. It's important that we know when, hey, this is too much for me. I need help. I need the third wheel. Some people go see their pastor. Some people have like a counseling ministry in their church or whatever the case may be. Do it. And if you are in need of counseling, please hit my inbox. I can definitely refer you, or I can definitely be of some assistance to you. Counseling is real and is much needed.
What happens about damage within the marriage? Traumatic things happen during the marriage. I believe that they can be fixed if you want them to be fixed. Absolutely. I believe that you can fix it if that's what you want. You got to realize, and what I say all the time, there's been some damage, traumatic situations in this marriage, but you have to be able to, or be willing to work through them. There's always going to be damage and trauma where there has been damage and trauma, and you got to be able to work through those things as you grow and as you get older, and you have to be able to push. You know, it's when you got two people trying to become one, or two people trying to become a union. We have to realize that there's going to be a lot of things that we have to work against. There's going to be a lot of things that we have to work on, and in the process of working against and working on, and a lot of things that we got to fight. You know, the crazy thing, there's a lot of generational curses in which has to be broken. And those things have created trauma, and we respond in different ways. When our mate reminds us of someone who has created a traumatic situation, or created a damaging situation, we respond traumatically, or we respond like a person who has been damaged. And those are things that we're always going to be working on them. So in those situations, you have to realize and figure out what your mate's trigger is.
Absolutely. Ooh, Lord.
Yeah, so our co-host came and shut the show down for a few minutes.
As always.
You know, so we have to realize, and you got to understand that all of those things are learning, and you're trying to create new, but because you're trying to create new, that doesn't make the old disappear.
Absolutely.
It just makes the old become a battle. It makes the old become something that you fight against in the process of trying to create something new.
If you don't get healing, if you don't get healed from it, it'll be something you battle. Yeah, but it's important to seek healing. It's important to, of course, want better. It's important to notice those faults and flaws in yourself and want change, and start to seek after change. I remember growing up, people used to say stuff like, oh, that's just Isha, or oh, that's just, no, if it's toxic behavior, it's not, oh, that's just me. Yeah. No, that's toxic, and I want help. I want to stop.
Yeah, you don't need to be saying, oh, it's me. You need to be saying, whoa, it's me. Yeah. God, fix it.
Yeah, whoa, it's me.
Yeah.
And I definitely need help and guidance through this. And that's the reality of things, you know? We don't have to accept being negative. We don't have to accept always being the burden bearer. We don't have to be the one to accept always being mistreated. We don't have to accept always cussing and flying off the handle. We don't have to accept that. That's not something we have to accept. No, because we weren't born, we weren't created to do that. When God created us, he created us to love one another. He created us to be Christ-like. He created us to be the light of the world, not to be the flaming fire, setting it on fire. So yeah, it's important that you do your work. Most definitely.
If you're willing to work.
If you're willing to work.
That's the thing. You got to be willing to work.
You and your mate have to be willing to work.
Right. That too.
Absolutely.
So, and sometimes you gotta put those things into thought. Like it's a soft answer turns away wrath.
Yep.
When he feel like he want to run through here screaming and yelling, Aisha broke me down plenty of times just saying, okay. I'm like, well, you don't want to argue. How you decided the argument over?
And I just say by not responding.
Yeah, that's what you have to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position to become better, or to make yourself better, or to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Like I say, man, we always, what you have to realize, this is the crazy part, that being married isn't easy, because in becoming one, you're always trying to do opposite of what you normally would. And that's a battle when you can't automatically go to your first thought. When God says, be ye transformed.
Oh, that sounds like your album.
That means to come from what you were and to allow him to create something new. Absolutely. Transform. That means become. When you look at it, Bumblebee is a car, and he transforms into a robot to do the things in which he's purposed to do.
Save the world.
Right? So when you transform it, that means you're becoming something different than what you normally are. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Every day you have to try to put something new in order to drive out the old.
Absolutely.
Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I don't want to say it the wrong way, right? Mm-hmm. And be not conformed to this world, because when God gives you something, it's not a blessing, or it's not a gift from the world. It's something that's given to you from a spiritual realm. It's something that's given to you from a sacrifice. There the word go again. For God so loved the world, he sent his only begotten son. So when Jesus gave his life on the line, everything that's been handed to you after that is coming from a sacrificial blessing place. Absolutely. And be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Take the old things out, put something new in, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. The will of God is that you're able to put yourself and keep yourself in a position that's fruitful for other people. Yeah. Or put yourself in a position that's notable for other people. You understand what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to serve a God, and every time they have a conversation with somebody, they always broke up, or they always in a bad situation. It's never any good news. No, you have to be able to prove what is good.
Right.
You got to be able to prove God's perfect will. So we got to start putting ourselves in a position to be happy, or to be gracious, and to be grateful.
You did it, girl. Yep. And I think that also goes back to what we stated in the beginning. Having that mission for your marriage, knowing where you're going, And when you know where you're going, you have the tolerance for all that other stuff, because you know anything else is just a distraction to get you off course from where you guys are going. So if your mission is to change the world or be a light, allow your marriage to be an example of Christ's love for his church, and you always coming into some kind of always coming into some kind of disagreement with your husband and stuff like that, remembering the mission. Anything else is a distraction. You'll find yourself less worried or less consumed by the foolishness. What you say, baby?
Yeah.
Less consumed by the foolishness, because you know where you're going.
Because it's
because the enemy comes to what? Kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah, and I always try to make it practical. When you prepare for a fight, even though you don't want to, you know that there's a chance that you might take a punch.
Yeah.
And in the process of taking a punch, you know that there's a chance that you might get knocked down. But in order to win, you got to get back up.
Get back up again. Get back up.
What are you willing to put in? What are you willing to sacrifice? You know, like even that, you know, those boxers, they have to make weight. Heavyweight boxers don't fight lightweight boxers. And in the process of going through the situations, there's dieting. There's things that you can't consume. There's things that you can't intake in the process of preparing for your fight.
Absolutely.
Right? And I know that they always say, man, because I listen to this or because I watch that or because I do this, it doesn't do anything, but it does. Because if you don't exercise and you eat Twinkies every day for 3 years, when you look around, you're going to be 50 pounds heavier. But you thought that one little Twinkie that you was eating every day wasn't going to do nothing.
Or that one bowl of ice cream.
Yeah, one little small thing turns into somebody. Listen, I was playing around and I looked at them, I'm like, man, I look big in these pictures. And I got on the scale, I was 361 pounds. I've never been that big in my life.
Yeah.
And then you're looking around like, man, how did I get here? And guess what? It's painful to get rid of that stuff that didn't belong to you, that you held on to.
It'll weigh you down. Yes.
Tackling that weight in the first couple of weeks, man, I felt like I was starving. Because I was intaking things or consuming things that I wasn't supposed to, and I was doing it in an unhealthy way, and I was doing it in an unhealthy manner. And all that time went past, and I looked around, and I had gained, man, me and Aisha got married, I think I was 250 pounds. Maybe a little less than that. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And you got to realize, man, like a lot of the time, some of those things we have to process and we have to fight. Because sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah. You
got to realize what you're fighting for. You got to realize what you're up against. You know, the Bible says, man, I'm paraphrasing, but you have to prepare yourself for Satan, because we're not ignorant of his devices.
Can't be.
If you know he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, you prepare yourself to go to war against somebody who comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
The mission of your marriage. Ooh, let's tie it all in.
If you know he's roaming the earth, seeking whom he may devour, you got to prepare yourself to go into war against something that's planning to overtake you.
That's right. Or anyone that you love.
What are you willing to put forth? Because sometimes it's not only about you. Amen. Sometimes your marriage has to succeed so that people can see that it's possible to have a successful marriage.
Yes. Yes, because I hear so many people say, shoot, I thought I want to get married, but shoot, the way the divorce rate look, I don't think I want to do it. Or I see so many people divorcing or unhappy in their marriage, I'll never do it. So it's your goal, it's your mission to prove them wrong, to show them that marriage still works, love is still real, that God is still on the throne, you know?
Yeah. And that's what we got to do. We got to continue. We always got to realize, and we always got to push to allow people to see the good part. Because guess what? People are going to always catch when you stumble.
Absolutely.
Listen, you could be walking somewhere and there be nobody on the street. And as soon as you slip, somebody yell out the window.
Hey, look at
They
him.
always going to catch the stumble. But
Absolutely.
you got to allow people to see how you're able to recollect yourself and continue to walk and push in a manner in which is pleasing to God.
Absolutely.
Just because you fall don't mean you have to sin. Just because you're angry don't mean you have to sin.
Yeah,
there's a time, there's a time for everything. It's a time to be angry.
Yep.
And you have to realize that. You know, it's a time to turn the other cheek. And it's also a time to go to war. Hey. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It's always time to love.
Yes.
And that's what we got to get back to. We got to get back to the place where we showing these people love.
Yeah.
And what love looks like. Because a lot of the time, people think that they've experienced love when they experience lust or infatuation. You understand what I'm saying? They've experienced something that has the pretenses of love, but not the substance of it. They've experienced something that has the look of love, but not the substance of it.
Mm. Absolutely. This is a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Then it goes on. It's crazy. For I say, through grace given unto me, that every man that is among you not think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but think soberly, according as God has dealt with every man the measure of faith.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a place or put yourself on a pedestal that you're not really ready to handle. Don't put yourself in a situation that you're not really ready to deal with. It's the marriage and getting that tuxedo and doing all those things seem really cool. Y'all look really great and it was really pretty and y'all spent all that money to be together 90 days, 6 months, a year.
Or one day, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is there a fight? You know?
And that's where premarital counseling and all that stuff come into place. I know I'm an advocate for counseling, and it could be because we're counselors, but premarital counseling, as Apostle Janice and Bishop stated, is very important when you're considering marriage, when you're dating someone. It's important that you seek premarital counseling. And I meant real legit premarital counseling. Not some fluke stuff you do for one day, an hour in a day. But I meant some real work where you get down to the nitty gritty. You get to know that person that you're considering marrying. Get to know their ideas on marriage. Get to know how they plan to raise the children. Get to know how they pay their bills.
If they even plan to have children.
Yes, get to know how they handle stress.
Yeah.
Not just what they say, but in the reality of things. Get to know them. Get to know how their family dynamics work. If they love their mama, if they don't, if their dad was around, get to know them. Get to know. That stuff is important to talk about before getting married. A lot of times we meet someone and we're vibing and we just like kicking it with them, not realizing that there's a whole nother person, a whole nother beast in there that you got to get to know. And premarital counseling is designed to get down to the root, the nitty gritty of that.
The premarital counseling help you get past the representative.
Absolutely.
Because for the first couple of months, maybe a year, you're dealing with the representative of that person.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then once you're able to get past the representative, then that person put the real person on the phone. Then you realize that this dude,
said on the phone.
yeah, then this dude is mad, and he shut down, and he's still upset because his father left.
And you like, wait a minute.
Where the person that was talking about going to Aruba?
Uh-huh.
Where the blue skies and the sunshine at?
Yeah.
The representative get off the phone and the whole room get dark. You start hearing thunder. For real, man, you gotta understand, man. People are tricky.
Yes.
And they will trick you.
Oh God, you said you start hearing thunder. Lord.
You talking about some, what's that fella upstairs? Y'all only 2 people in the apartment. You don't even live upstairs. Y'all live on the top floor.
Oh God.
Yeah, man. It's real.
Yes, it's important. So if you're dating someone and you considering, it's still okay to seek out premarital counseling. We're at an age now where we're dating on purpose. We're dating with a purpose. Get to know them. Save your time, right? Get to know up front. Hey, is this someone I would consider? If not, yeah. Yeah, this was really good.
Yep. We're at the end. And I feel like, I guess, again, man, it's back to the, God is saying, don't fix your brake lights. Let them just be out. Because if you allow them to be out and you don't change the bulb, people don't know which direction you're going in. People don't know what to pray against. People don't know when you stop. They don't know when you're slowing down. All they can do is watch, and it looks like you're moving forward. And that's all they need to see, is that the fact of it looks like you're moving forward. Everything else you can hand over to Christ. But people don't need to know what direction you're going in. They don't need to know the ideas or the thought patterns in which you have. Because people can't, people can't handle the blessings that they think you have.
He be coming up with some creative ways to give word.
People think that you have something, and they will be praying that as soon as you make the left, that there's a police around there to pull you over, to rain on your parade. That's what you have to understand. People can't take the blessing that they think you have. They don't know that actually in your mind you going crazy, but you smiling about it. You smiling because you know that it's crazy.
Yeah.
You smiling because you know that you're not supposed to be in this situation. You laughing if they think you laughing because you have to, but you laughing because you trying to figure out how did you even put yourself in this situation. For real. I don't even ask people to pray for me no more. Because people pray for the things that they think that you should have. Or they pray against the things that they think that you have.
Mercy.
Always understand. A lot of stuff you can't tell people until you finish.
Till it's done.
You can't tell people until it's done.
Absolutely.
You always got to remember. Just watch.
Yeah, that's what Mika said. I know that's like me.
Because people will always show you who they are. Always. That's why sometimes we have to take time. Keep telling y'all, we fall in love with the representative.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even realize that the person is complete opposite of the representative.
Mercy, Jesus.
Did you ever notice, right? When you call a company and you're talking to the representative on the phone, They saying what they think. They saying what the policy tells them to say, right? And then when you say, put the supervisor on the phone, the supervisor actually does what they want. The supervisor say, oh, you ain't got to pay that. You don't have to do that. Yeah, we fall in love with the potential.
Absolutely.
We fall in love with the potential. The potential of what this person is selling us.
Or what we think.
Yeah.
What we think they can become.
Oh man, what was that?
Yeah, well, what we think they can become, and they have no idea, or they have no unction to even go down the lane in which we think they. I remember talking to somebody, and as I was talking to them, I could imagine them writing books and all this other stuff, and they were like, "No, I want to be a construction worker."
Yeah.
I had this whole picture of what they can do and how they can change and impact lives, and they were like, "That's not my dream."
Yeah. Man, I went one time, went in Foreman Mills. Went in Foreman Mills to buy something, man. They had this table. They had this table, and the thing was like 10 t-shirts for $8 or $6 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I make t-shirts, I do t-shirts, man. I'm going through the thing, and I'm picking up the sign that sold me on the 10 t-shirts for $6, and I'm going through, and I'm picking the shirts out, and I get home, and all the shirts got holes in them. The shirts wasn't no good. That's why they were 60 cents, because they wasn't no good. Too good to be true. But yeah. Welcome, Mika. We at the end of our time. And remember, man, let me go. What happened to my phone? I don't know what our little host did on my phone. Remember, right? It takes two to make the merge work. Both of you guys have to be willing to sow. Both of you guys have to be willing to reap. And sometimes one of you have to be willing to sow while the other one reaps, because you have to sow what that person lacks in order for that person to grow. Then you always have to remember, what are we sacrificing for the marriage to be better? Sometimes in the marriage, I have to let go of who I am, because who I am sometimes is not beneficial to what God wants the plan to be. Even though God called me to be this mighty man of God, and he anointed me, and he gave me oil, and he gave me all of these things to be able to move as he guides and connect to him and tell people what saith the Lord. But sometimes that person who's not in the presence of the Lord, sometimes there's some friction with the will of the Lord. Because we still have to realize that humanity kicks in. And sometimes when our humanity kicks in, it's contrary to what our spirituality is. And then don't go to sleep angry. You know, when you realize that something is valuable to you, even if you damage it, or even if there's some problems, you realize that it's really not worth even being upset about. You understand? It's crazy, because a garden takes a whole bunch of work. In order for flowers to grow, it takes a whole bunch of work. And the gardener doesn't get upset with the work it takes for the garden to grow, because he knows that if he puts into work the work of the garden, there's potentially going to be a harvest. His anger is never with the garden. He might be upset that he didn't do something right and he lost a portion of the garden, but it's never going to be with the work that it takes to put into the garden, because he knows that you have to water potential. In order for something to grow, you got to water the potential of it. When you plant the seed, even though it's a mustard seed, you still got to believe when you plant it It's still got to be some faith when you plant it. It's still got to be some understanding. There is supposed to be some growth when you plant it. You ain't planting it in hopes. You're planting it knowing that you wanted to grow. And when you plant it knowing that you wanted to grow, you plant it knowing that it takes some work. Knowing that it's going to take a part of you in order for it to blossom. You're going to have to give, for the merge to work, you're going to have to give a portion of you away in order for it to blossom. People, you got to understand that there's a cost for everything. I don't care what people say. Salvation is free, but it's going to cost you everything to be like Christ. Yeah. The garden is going to be free, but it's going to cost you some work in order to till the ground and make sure everything getting what it needed in order to blossom. And that's what we got to realize. So I'm going to pray us out. I love y'all, man. Thanks again for all the people who came and kicked it with us today. Thank you, Jerica, for adding a little bit of fuel to it all night. Thank you, Shamika, for kicking in at the end. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And bow your heads, dear Heavenly Father. We come to you as humble as we know how to tell you thank you. Father, thank you for the potential. Thank you for the sacrifice. Father, thank you for giving us what we need. Father, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here with us. Father, every marriage under the sound of my voice, every single person, everybody with the aspirations of being married, Father, I ask that you give them the things that they need to start connecting and gaining knowledge and those things that they need to be able to effectively be married. Father, give us the things that we need to be able to push forward. We bind up selfishness, we bind up self-centeredness, and we bind up individualism, and we release peace, joy, happiness. We release unity. We release intertwining. We release communication. We release sacrifice. We release joy and love, and we peace, and we tell you to continue to move on our behalf. Father, we thank you, we honor you, and we praise you. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks again, y'all. We love you guys. See you next week, next Friday.
Love you.
Yeah.